So, welcome. We're doing our first Red Pill Coffee Talk. What do you think, Gina?
I'm so excited.
Are we ready to
Our
dive
red
in?
pills, guys.
Ready to dive in.
Uh-huh. Yep. We all need
Yep.
a red pill.
We need a Red Pill Coffee Talk moment
Every day.
every day, like at least for 20 minutes, to deal with what's happening in the world.
Indeed. We recommend sun gazing as well.
Get yourself straight.
Unplugging.
Yeah, plugging in and unplugging.
Yes.
So we're starting this channel. We're starting this channel as a result of a really wonderful concept that Gina and I came up with for an Ascension discussion group. And it kind of came out of that idea that we're all, some of us are getting together and we're talking about some really amazing topics that a lot of people on YouTube are discussing and that are coming to the forefront, whether it be about technology, about spirituality, about QAnon, the Great Awakening, whether it's about 5G, whether it's about HARP or mind control or the deep state or artificial intelligence, or the list goes
The
on.
deep rabbit hole, my friends.
The rabbit hole. And so that's why we started Red Pill Coffee Talk. We all need
to start getting into the real topics in a safe environment.
That's right.
With awakened individuals.
That's right.
We want to share the truth with everybody.
Well, as our truth, as we're finding out, and those moments when you feel like you're on the ledge and you need somebody to talk you down, we can talk about that too.
Yep, that's what we're here for.
God knows we've been there too.
So, indeed.
The format we're thinking is just have a conversation and let's just see what happens from these different topics, and let's share what we've seen other people talking about. So much is rising to the surface.
Absolutely.
Really amazing times we're living in, and we feel this wave of momentum that we want to. I can't not ride the wave. I don't know about you.
Yeah, definitely. The Great Awakening seems to be truly a much bigger movement than we could have ever imagined, and that
I could have ever dreamed of.
That alone can bring in many, many other topics. We can really, really talk about a whole lot of amazing topics.
Yeah, and our group that's been getting together has just been raising these questions that are just, every single question is a rabbit hole. And where do you start? And where do you go? And how do you answer the question? And what are the reference materials? Gina and I have all these books to share, and we've been diving in. This is just some of many and binders of information.
So many. And Cherie has shared so many wonderful books with me too, you guys. The Energy Grid, Harmonic 695, The Pulse of the Universe. Excellent read. I strongly recommend it.
It goes into the ley lines, doesn't it? I think it does.
Yes, it does talk about the ley lines. This, by the way, is by Bruce L. Cathy. It's amazing, guys. We're talking about the world energy grid today. Anyway, you want to talk about the matrix, we can get into that. We can bring in 5G. That's my teapot.
Well, okay, you can have tea, even though it's coffee talk. You can have tea. We'll allow that.
I'm going to have to go get that.
Okay, fine.
I'll be right back.
So Gina shared with me the psychic interaction, which goes into frequencies and sine waves and fractal patterns of the universe. I'm also reading Ascension Mysteries by David Wilcock, which is just incredible. We're going over quite a bit of material from the raw material, Law of One, which a lot of things are based on. Didn't mean to have third position here in my book introduction. This is the most important book of all.
Absolutely.
And then,
the really good references.
The Christos Sophia Revelation, and Gina's read the whole thing. I read part of it. It goes on and on and on.
We can
and
talk about Mary Magdalene. We can talk about all of that if you're
Christ
comfortable.
consciousness, yes,
Amazing.
Mother Gaia Earth. We're even into some of this MK Ultra mind control stuff that we've been reading from Q, and
Yes.
what this really implies in our world today that's being utilized on all people. So
Yeah.
it's not
We
just
can
the
talk
spiritual.
about frequencies being hijacked on a much broader scale. We can talk about voice to skull. We can talk about, oh
And
my goodness.
coffee drink for that.
Ooh.
So let's start. Let's talk about,
Okay.
Gina and I kind of thought about where should we begin, and I think a lot of people are aware that we're living in a world bathed with Wi-Fi and 5G and cell phone and Internet of Things, and it's
Wi-Fi
ramping up.
bombardment is a problem. I cannot stress that enough to everybody. And I have my own little electromagnetic, meter, and, I'll go around town and it goes off constantly, almost every 20 feet.
Wow.
It's going over the acceptable amount of background. So
Where do you get that information about acceptable levels? Like, is there an authority body that says what's acceptable, or how do you benchmark it?
Yes, well, that's having to do with how much radiation one can get, whether it be background or whether it be from an electromagnetic spectrum of sorts. So we're all allowed a certain amount, apparently. Now, depending on where you live in your atmosphere, you have to think about what you're receiving naturally and what you could be receiving on a different spectrum level. We can talk about phones or cell towers, and how Gwen towers are equipped with 1,000 times more the percentage of energy needed to produce quite the amount of damaging electromagnetic frequencies. And
So what is damaging about electromagnetic frequencies? What is damaging?
well, to start, there's cell phone radiation, and we're talking about radiation. I'm going to bring up the first big red flag for me is going to be cancer. We're looking at an increase in lymphoma in young children with this kind of electromagnetic frequency disturbance. And if we're talking about this on a global scale, which we are, if you really think about how these towers work, where they're up, they're in public areas, they're in church parking lots, they're in places where people get a deal for having them on their property.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah. So you see, they're regulated a little bit differently because of that. So you have to keep these things in mind and ask yourself, how close are the towers to me and where I live? And how much is your phone giving off? How much is your cell phone giving off in radiation? I mean, you have to look at a lot of different possibilities when it comes to.
Have you seen that video of that guy who puts the reader, the electromagnetic reader that you're talking about? He puts it next to the cell phone.
Yes.
And then he puts the cell phone in airplane mode.
Yes.
See the bars go down on the reader, and then they go back up when it's out of airplane mode.
Yeah, wow. What do you think that's all about?
And you got your kids holding these phones right in their laps, or they're all day long playing games.
Yeah, we could talk about cell phones in general and programming and
I think it's fundamentally changing humanity in a big way. I mean, there's some parts of cell phones that I can theorize that are actually positive, like in terms of that as beings we really could potentially be telepathic, and maybe in some ways cell phones bridge that gap in allowing us to see that we could communicate through the ether or in some way, and we use this device, but maybe one day we won't even need a cell phone.
I don't know why that just reminds me of Tesla technology.
Yeah, I mean, because everything's traveling through the air as it is, but in the meantime, until we learn those skills, we are seem to be quite dependent and willing to adopt these phones in our laps 24/7.
Absolutely.
There was a time where I had by my phone, and I'm checking my phone late at night, and I found that I was not sleeping as well because they talk about that blue light.
Yeah.
And then they even, the iPhone even switched into the golden shift night, but thing. But now I just keep it out of my room altogether at night. I turn off my phone. I turn off my
Same here.
Wi-Fi.
I unplug. I keep my phone 3 feet away from me. I don't use my microwave anymore.
Wow.
It's ionized radiation, and it's if we're already being bombarded with Wi-Fi, and we have all of these gadgets that are bringing in more interferences, we really need to be aware. Right?
Yeah. Have you ever had your cell phone on when you're near a microwave and it turns your cell phone into like it completely interrupts the cell phone if you're watching a YouTube video? So those microwaves are traveling and affecting your cell phone and interrupting.
I have had a
That's true.
disruption in audio before passing by while talking to someone a long time ago when I used my cell phone.
That's kind of true. That something's going on, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I've checked my background on my microwave before, and it was extremely high, definitely unsafe levels, and that's when I said, okay, I don't need you.
So what do we know about 5G? I mean, I see these towers going up everywhere, and they're camouflaging some of them to look like cactuses and trees, and they're painting them green, and they're trying to hide them with fake foliage. And what's all that about?
Yeah, apparently they just want to ramp up the speeds and push for this new technology that's going to put us in a very dangerous point of way too much electromagnetic radiation, and it's not going to be good for us. It's going to really we're already bombarded. So I'm worried that 5G is not exactly what everyone thinks it is, and I would actually ask them to question, what is 5G going to benefit you? How's it going to benefit you when you have these big bulky towers even closer to your home than before? And what about these little teeny little booster receptors that are going up everywhere? Why are they just putting them up without anybody asking? And what can you do to get information on it? Contact your
there's not much out there. I know 5G is fundamentally different in that it works on millimeter waves versus the 4G that we have now. And actually millimeter waves come from the military in terms of it's like a crowd control weapon where it can be sent out into a crowd, and it hits the body in a way that feels like a concussion bomb or a heat wave that burns your skin, and it gets people to back off.
Yes.
And it's also, isn't it the same frequencies that you go through when you pass through a scanner at the airport?
Right. That would be a full body.
That's once in a while when you fly, but what about when it's all around your neighborhood?
What about when you go through different agricultural checks and you don't realize they have these newer mystery towers up, and they're basically thermal, right? Or X-ray. So
in fact, if you don't mind, I don't know about you, but I have a thing bookmarked here to read a little bit about 5G. Can I read a little bit?
Oh, yes, please do.
I'll just read like this short section, and let's find out. This is just one book I'm picking, and we have so many, but I don't know that much about 5G. So since we picked this topic to start, It's saying that the introduction of 5G is crucial to the success of the technological takeover of the human mind. And you're going to see behavior and health catastrophically affected once that power of disruption to the human electrical and electromagnetic fields begins to scramble the standing wave oscillation of the mind and body. So that's interesting. Electromagnetic fields of the body. This 5G revolution has immense implications with its use of publicly untested, ultra-high microwave frequencies and a massive deployment of towers and antennas because of the short range of 5G. By massive, I mean 1 for every 12 buildings. In a dense urban area, I've seen them just on like light posts.
I'm seeing them too on regular phone posts.
Yeah, and it says, and schools, because 5G can't travel efficiently very far. The problem is also being overcome by putting 5G receiver transmitters everywhere in the form of smart meters, which I know you know a little bit about, and other smart technology. This is a mind-body control grid. Wow.
If you think about it, the industry itself is spending over $60 billion to develop this thing by 2020. What is the push? Why are they pushing? That's what I got to ask myself. It's just amazing the amount of money that is being thrown at this.
Yeah. And isn't Arizona, forget the town in Arizona, but there's a town that's the first smart city.
It's the first smart city. I don't know if it's in Tucson or not. I want to say it is. I'll have to fact check me, Red Pillars. I need to know. Red Pill Coffee Shop needs your help too. This is a learning process.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's because they're going to roll out the driverless cars there. They're going to have the Internet of Things. They're going to, and so.
We could talk about GPS takeovers lately. If you want to talk about, there was an instance just recently where someone's GPS decided it was going to take over and drove someone's car off the road. And
is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
If they can hijack through the Internet of Things someone's GPS, now we have a whole new.
And then we saw that headline of the the Uber driverless car that ran over a woman in a crosswalk. So
yeah,
these things are not proven.
Yes, I did hear about that too.
They're not proven out, but they're just, in fact, let me read this quote, which is really pretty shocking because it says here, oh shoot, this is always how it works. There's a quote about how, I'm going to have to find it now, but it talks about how, we'll get to the testing of it later. Let's just roll it out and let's just see what happens, and we'll let the market correct any problems. So of course then they're just going to just roll it out and see if there's any failures or any health issues later. Let's just deal with that later.
Right.
It's frightening. It's frightening.
It's pretty scary. One should ask the question, right? Why?
Here it is. Let me read this.
Last month, the U.S. became the first nation to allocate a large swath of airwaves for 5G. And this is put forth by the federal commissions, the communication commissions.
So the U.S. is the pioneer of 5G. Is that right?
Apparently so. Wow. Yeah. So far, it's technologically advancing the fastest.
Here, this quote says, Tom Wheeler, the chairman of the U.S. Federal Commission's Communications Commission, the FCC, gushed forth with plans for all communities, urban and rural, to be saturated with cumulatively deadly 5G frequencies, connecting everything from water supplies to pharmacological drugs to domestic appliances and anything linked to the internet. And then he says, as far as safety standards, he says, oh, we won't wait for the safety standards to be developed. And sometimes some arduous, process or in a government-led activity. Instead, we'll make, ample spectrum available and then rely on the private sector-led process for producing technical standards best suited for those frequencies and use cases. So see, they're just we're the experiment.
Yeah,
We're the experiment.
we are. Yeah. That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Like we're guinea pigs, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a lot facing people, and a lot of people are waking up right now to a lot of what's going on, and it's I've just been caught up in this wave of sort of awakening myself, and realizing that there's a lot going on around us that certainly not anything you're going to see on the mainstream media, certainly not what most people are talking about because they're busy, maybe talking about what's on TV on Saturday night.
It's true.
Or going to a concert, which is fine. I get it. But this is big stuff. And it has to do with, it feels like a human awakening, doesn't it?
It really does. I don't think it's just anybody. I mean, we can start talking about what it was for me, the first breadcrumb, I would have to talk about 9/11,
Yeah, that was a question the Q community asked, right? What was the first red pill moment? For me, it was 9/11. It was the WTC 7, the building 7. Like, why did that fall?
Building 7.
No plane hit that. Why did that fall?
Yeah, and then for me, it was learning about directed energy weapons originally.
Really?
And talking about the difference in the thermite in the building and how they collapsed.
I remember reading about thermite, yes.
Yeah. And then back on 5G, I was just reading this, and
go ahead.
Share it with you guys.
Say it, girl, say it.
Yeah. This was written in the Los Angeles Times last month, that there are about 380,000 wireless antennas on a cell phone tower building. At the end of last year, that number doubled, and that was a while ago. Wow! And now they have these smaller base stations, and they're basically setting them up to where they're going to need to be serviced for 5G.
And and they're rolling it out as if, everybody needs to have faster download times, and everybody needs
and they're going to talk about gaming speeds. They're going to be like, oh, don't you want to have the greatest, gaming speeds ever? Let's talk about the newer high speed, processing chip on our new NVIDIA card for all you gamers out there. Let's talk about virtual reality.
Yet at the same time, millimeter waves can be used for crowd control. So most people don't realize that. So what if they just decided to send out a pulse wave through these towers and use that? Well, like if there was a protest going on and they decided they wanted to quell the protest, they could just press a button and send out a signal, and everybody.
We could talk about what an electromagnetic pulse is, and we could talk about how they could use the electromagnetic spectrum to pull something like this off, right? Yeah.
Well, what is that exactly? Does it affect the body in a way that affects our health or our physiology?
I would believe so. I mean, the basic part of 5G is it presents additional concerns about more energy in a signal traveling over a high-speed, high-frequency spectrum, and the smaller transmitters will be closer to where people live and work. Therefore, 5G then would present more of a bombardment of such radiation to the body. It would not only affect us on the outside, it's going to affect us as far as our energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about our ears ringing.
Yes, I've heard that.
We can talk about the symptoms, and we can talk about um, how I wouldn't be surprised if a considerable amount of brain tumors wouldn't increase because it penetrate through, that vulnerable state.
I've heard it like oscillates the cells in a way that is scrambling to the actual cellular structure of the human body.
And I wish I had that information really super in handy, but I do not.
As we
But
go
yes,
along, we'll build our reference material. This is not meant to
indeed.
be necessarily educational, like let's cite the book and the line and the author, although we will here and there, but it's a conversation. As we're talking about this, I wanted to read this quote that said that 5G operates on the same frequencies as those used for crowd control weapons, which cause a severe burning sensation on the skin. A U.S. Department of Defense report said, if you are unlikely enough to be standing there when the beam hits you, you will feel like your body is on fire.
Right. And they can set it to where it's at a certain boundary and you wouldn't know it. You can't see it.
Like an invisible fence.
Exactly. But once it touches you, it's a sensation that automatically your body just cannot handle either the heat sensation from this beam. Yes. Yeah. It's fascinating. And there are papers on this too. And yeah.
What do you think's going on? Like, why are they? I mean, if it's more than just for faster download speeds, and it's for more than just gaming, what do you think the real objective is in bathing us in frequencies? What do you think it is? I mean, I have a theory. What's your theory?
I want to hear your theory.
Well, since this book I just looked at, and what I've read is that the human mind, the human brain our whole body is an electrical being. We're electrical beings.
Yes.
So when you have technology that's able to also emit electricity in different frequencies, and frequencies can be modulated, and our brain syncs at a certain hertz, and our body resonates at a certain Schumann resonance. And
yes, we can take
these frequencies that can be altered. Yeah. Then you're really talking about a circuit. We become permeable with an outside force, which some argue can be a form of, some say mind control, but we don't really understand how it affects the mind, but it can certainly disrupt your homeostasis, your feeling balanced, and that's alarming.
Yes, it is. It is. It's your frequencies being hijacked. Yeah, we can talk about the Schumann resonance and how a lot of people like to tune to the Earth's heartbeat, which I know to be the Schumann's resonance of 7.83 hertz. Yeah.
Wow. Isn't that kind of what they say the Earth resonates at?
Yes, yes. It's known as the Earth's heartbeat. And if that's being targeted, you have to think about the effects not only on us, but every living thing, plant. And
why do you think it would be targeted?
That's an excellent question. You would think there might be some kind of an agenda behind something like that, huh?
Yeah. Now we're entering the edge of the rabbit hole, aren't we?
Yeah. You want to open that can of worms?
I'll have to paint a rabbit over here. Follow the white rabbit.
We should refer to the rabbit. Yeah.
If any of you are watching and you don't know what the term "follow the white rabbit" means, or the Great Awakening, or what is a rabbit hole, what is Alice in Wonderland, what are these terms? It's starting to really come up a lot.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
A lot of new hashtags are out there. Yeah.
And there's a reason for it, because it's kind of meant to make you go, and start doing some of your own research.
Your own research, looking into these topics, dropping these little breadcrumbs, yeah,
Yeah.
to get down to the real truth of the matter.
Or at least speculate on it, and that's what
Yes.
I've been inspired to do by, listening to a lot of these awakening people all over, the internet and these great authors. And it just seems like things are really, really ramping up to some crescendo of realizations. And we hear these stories of the deep state getting dismantled, and
Oh,
there's things
absolutely.
happening behind the scenes that we're not hearing about on the news, and all these technologies being rolled out so fast that we can't keep up with them. And
It's something new every day, it almost seems like. And you have to really ask yourself, uh, how real is this 3D matrix? Because it's just, yeah.
yeah, because there's so much going on that and there's such a strong effort to distract us that it makes me also, because I'm not a TV watcher. I don't know about you, but I'm really
I am sorry, I don't watch that black box. No.
yeah, they don't call it TV programming for nothing.
That's a yes, absolutely.
And
Yes,
so, but those are the people that do watch it. There's all these
right.
dancing shows, and there's all this stuff meant to pacify and distract, and
Divide and conquer and
football, this team or that team. And hey, I like football,
politics.
but I'm not, it's all bread and circuses. Let's just go back to our history. Bread and
Yes,
circuses is meant to pacify the masses,
absolutely.
and this is the process, is learning about what is our history. A lot of, if these things go away and we just go to, digital information, and then suddenly the internet's pulled, or things get
Yeah.
scrubbed from Google searches. We need
Which is happening. Censorship is a problem right now. You all know it, right?
it's all over the news. I follow a lot of people on Twitter that are
Facebook, you
getting
guys, have you
censored.
heard what's going down?
Seriously, like Facebook stock is dropping like
Stocks
crazy.
going down. Yeah.
Zuckerberg's,
Mike Zuckerberg is related to someone. Very.
well, and they even say he might be under investigation for dumping his stock based on insider trading information.
I heard that.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Wow.
We might see some amazing things happen in the next couple 3 months. I love your kitty.
She's coming into the picture. Say hi, Nina.
Yeah. So it's just, this is our little effort to have a conversation and continue talking about it and sharing what we're doing in our group, which is asking these tough questions. And, we've been sharing this long list of topics, and making sure that people understand, like, what some of the hard discussions are, so that we don't trigger anybody, because that does happen sometimes. People will freak out.
And we want to come to you in a very open and transparent way too, because we're all in this together. And
Yeah.
one thing we have to realize is, hey, we got to be here for each other, and we both have to look into what we're researching and share it with one another, and also keep an open mind. And
Hmm.
remember, discernment is important right now. I mean, what's coming in is disinformation. Again, TV programming. There's a reason why they call it programming.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Just let's read Edward Bernays. Edward
yes,
Bernays, like, my
yeah.
goodness, that guy. Yeah. And I hope we can have
Share and be prepared, and yeah.
and I hope that we can have some conversations about, spiritual differences. I know I'm a Buddhist and you're a Christian. It'd be really interesting to have
Yes,
comparison conversations about how
we
those
really can. We're
things
we're
are
an
similar.
interesting, wonderful bunch, though, everybody. I just
Mhm.
want you to know that.
Yeah. No, it's for those people out there that don't necessarily wanting to sit in front of a camera and have a talk with your friend. This is like sitting in your living room and having a conversation with friends.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll check back to Red Pill Coffee Talk.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get special mugs. Really
We
like
are
your
coming
handle.
soon. It's gonna be so amazing.
I
It's
need
so
I need a white Sharpie.
you could do that. It would be perfect. Just draw it on there. Mine looks really bad, everybody. It's supposed to look like a pill.
Check back. Gina's really good at making graphics, so we'll probably have some fancy cup here in another
We
month
hope
or
to
so.
get that going too. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we'll wrap it up, and we'll try uploading this and see how it goes, and have another conversation in a few days, and get into some heavier stuff. We just wanted to touch on some concepts of what we're trying to do here and see what happens.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely. And we hope to supply some links to some of our discussions and things like that too to you guys. So
Yeah,
hopefully
and
that to
plus,
come.
we're learning how to use this technology. This is all new
Yes,
to
this
me.
is first new stuff with Zoom, guys. So
Yeah, sharing screens and sharing links, and
yeah, and hopefully eventually we'll get that all figured out, the whole screen sharing
little
thing.
kitty snake. Aw. Well, all right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and
Yeah, thank you so much.
tune in next time, and we'll see what more we get into, because God knows there's plenty to get into, and
Yeah,
try not to scare anybody off,
yeah.
because the rabbit hole goes pretty deep, doesn't it?
It really does. It
Oh my
really does. So remember, guys, to keep it real, and peace and love be with all of you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Till next time.
Till next time.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.